Welcome to the land of giants, Log Homestead.
Hi, I'm Dorothy. I'll be making my planters today for our front deck. They are about 2 feet by 2.5 feet. You can see inside. I've decided to use a medium of like sand this year because I've always used the dirt and I've had it like pretty full, but I want to try sand this year and see how well it would hold in, I guess, in relation to the dirt. And I've decided to make them not too huge, so they'll be just coming over the top a little bit, maybe by 6 inches or so. It ends up going here on our front, I guess it's a side deck technically, but it faces the street and people see it. So I'm hoping to have them enough that they show, but not like too huge. I'll be using some cedar today, some white pine, and then I have some hemlock here. And then that's kind of like a little mixed pile of cedar and some red pine. We get all these trees from our property. We have a 60-acre property. And that's where we source all our greens for doing any kind of Christmas arrangements or any other arrangements that would require them. So when making any kind of cuts for fresh greens that you're putting into pots with soil or sand or any other medium you use, make sure that you have a fresh cut on the branch. It helps it last longer. It stays better. So usually that's what I do, and then I just stick it down into the sand. And then I'll go through all of this and just fill it up slowly. Usually I do one branch, like one type of branch at a time, just so I kind of see how it's building, what needs to be filled in. Also, I'll use the drapier stuff along the sides and the more firm, stiff things towards the middle. Bus intermission! Ava's here! Hi, Ava! So as you go along through the pots, you kind of just stick them into the sand or the dirt or whatever you decide to use. I'm using sand, as I said. And you're kind of just trying to make them about the same size so you don't end up with like a peak at the top or too much on the ends. Just nicely leveled. And if you decide after if you want to put like a higher decorative something in the middle, it's kind of more like the star of the show versus the greens. So I'm just going to go along filling this up, and then I'll show you kind of when I got a first level ready. Here's how it looks with just the start of the cedar. So I've created the shape that I wanted, that it's a little drapey over the edges. First one and then second one. And the pattern that I used was just that I would lie it down. So I worked from one side, filling it in as I went along to the center, and then filling this side in from the edge all the way to the center. And then I have roughly the shape that I'd like to start with, so I'll just add in the next branches now. So now I'm going to incorporate the hemlock into it. Keeping in mind that most of the branches will have different colors on each side, so I don't know if you can see this clearly, but it has like a darker, glossier side, and then the other side's a little bit more muted and a lighter green. So when creating these arrangements, keep it in mind that you have a choice. You can do the lighter, you can do the darker, just whatever suits the look that you're going for or how you kind of want to have it show to everybody. If I'm doing more of a natural look, usually I'll go with like the darker green side. If I'm going for a little bit more glammy, or if I want something that has more silver in it, then I'll use like the lighter silvery side. So really it's up to you how you choose to do it. So I'm just going to add this little guy in. Fresh cut again. And one very important thing I forgot to mention, now that it's cold, our pots with the soil or whatever medium you're using is frozen. So 100% you have to remember, if you're going to be doing these kind of arrangements, to bring it in to the house or some warm area to defrost the night before. Don't be thinking that you're going to be able to come out and just put them in the ground when they've been out on the deck, because it's not going to happen. They're rock solid. It happened to me because I totally forgot. So 100% bring them inside so that you don't end up having that happen when you're in the mood to do it and then you have to wait till the next day. So this I'm just going to add in the middle now because they're kind of taller and straighter. They're not so drapey. So I'm just going to be adding that in there. And as I said, these are probably going to be maybe like 6 inches to maybe 8 to 10 max out of the pot. I'm not doing really tall ones. I don't want it to be like super showy, just to have a nice little pop of green on the deck, whether if we're using it for a fire or just that it looks nice when people drive by or when we're welcoming guests to the house, just for like a little something, so it's just not all white snow all the time. And I usually try and do my containers or urns or whatever I'm creating that I'm able to use it after the holiday season as well. So I'll try and make it that I'm able to pull out anything that's very Christmassy, and then it's usually just more like a naturey kind of feel to it, and I usually leave that till close to March when the snow starts to melt, so we have something in our pots and it's not just stark. My little cedar sneaked in here. And you can use sometimes these thinner branches if you need, just as like filler. You don't always have to have the thick, lush ones. They all can serve a purpose at some point, unless they're like this, and then you know, that's really not useful. So we're gonna add in the red pine tips now. I use these at the end because I find them they're like have the most impact. This is more like fillers with the cedar and the hemlock. And now this is kind of like where I really want there to be like some type of emphasis, focal point for the planter. So I'm gonna go in and then tuck them usually in the edges. If I get one that has like a really bushy part that I could have stand up straight in the middle, then maybe I'll add it there. But usually I start with the ends. So if you're able to just push it in that little bit enough that it holds it and it's relatively secure, you should be good. So all of these were fresh cut. I'm just putting fresh cuts into them again to make sure that they are going to be able to take up some of the moisture. Just keeps them fresh for longer. And this planter will be facing the road from this side, and we'll end up seeing the back. So I got to make sure that that side looks nice too. So I'm going to finish this up and then we're going to move on to the other one. Here's how the planters look without the decorations in them yet. So just the greens. I ended up not using the white pine. I used the red pine, the hemlock, and the cedar, and they turned out pretty nice. Like there's variation in color and texture, so I'm happy with it. So I'm going to end up using these bows that I had for, I don't know, a few years now. I made them. They're actually fairly simple. I know it could be intimidating when you see a bow with so many loops, but it's really not that bad. So what I'm going to end up doing is putting the bow on the stick. So I just twist tie on the back of the stick, and then we're going to hide it in the greens, find the center of the pot, and place it down in there. And we'll do the other one the same thing. And then it's firmly in place. You don't have to worry about the wind blowing it away or anything like that happening to it. Like making these things are total preference. You can use anything that you want. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when building these, you can get really, really sappy. So that's why I'm wearing garden gloves, because getting the sap off afterwards is like a nightmare. Got the final stick. Gonna chop that off and place this in here. Alright, it's in there pretty good. Oh, there you go. Alright, so this is two really simple, easy planters that you can do just to have a little bit of greenery or festive look to your house. And I'm just going to put them into where they're going to go, and we'll show you guys how it looks. Here's the finished planters with the bow and the 2 pine cones. Super simple, but really nice. Looks good. Maybe took me half an hour, 45 minutes to make, not even. Minus collecting the branches, of course, because that always takes time. When I finished, I decided it was just too plain. So I came back and I decided to add these berries. I like it much better. It gives a little bit more pop and just interest. So I decided to go with this. Today I'm doing my last set of pots. These are the large ones that I've been saving. I had mums in them earlier in the fall, but I decided that we're going to use them for winter and just put the birch is in. We're just going to be using like the tips of the red pine and some of the fir, and it fills up really quick when you do the big branches. Now the fir. So now I'm going to start in with the berries and the pine cones that I decided to use, and then a bow. I got these from the Bradford greenhouse this year. I just love the way they looked. And pine cones are like a reuse from last year. So I have one pre-made that matched my other ones. And you can just put it wherever you like on the planter. So I like mine usually down in the front, so I'm going to put it here. I'm going to do the other one just the same, and that's it. Super quick, less than 20 minutes, and we have two beautiful large containers. Here's the final setup for the planters and the pots that I had made. Merry Christmas. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.